All right, hey Math 1, this is section 2.3, part 2. I just wanted to highlight what you guys can do when you see decimal problems like this floating around. The one thing that I'm noticing here is everybody's exactly one digit in the tenths place on this, which means if I were to multiply both sides of this equation by 10, it's literally going to move the decimal place over to the right, making them all whole numbers. So 34D minus 13 equals negative 46 minus 17D. So that's us using both the distributive property and the multiplicative property of, the multiplication property of equality. So MPE and the distributive property. Okay, now it looks like the very first problem on this notes document, which just makes us think, hey, can I get the D's together on the left or right side? If you don't want to use the symmetric property at all, I would move the D's to the left. So if it's a minus, I got to add to undo that minus. And I have to combine the D terms with the D terms. Don't be messing around with this negative 13. So that's the addition property of equality that I used. All right, they're stacked with the right place values, so I can just add 11, carry the 1, 4, 5, 50, 51D is what I get out of this. And minus 13 equals negative 46 is the rest. Excuse me, is the rest of it. Now it looks like something from section 2.1. Undo the subtraction by adding the 13. You guessed it. Addition property of equality, which leaves you with 51D equals, all right, I got two opposites. Opposites subtract and take the sign of the bigger one. So 6 minus 3 is 3, 4 minus 1 is 3, it's negative 33. Divide by 51, divide by 51. You get 1D. And division property of equality happened here. But I'm looking at 33 over 51, okay? And I'm thinking to myself, I wonder if they both divide something. They're not even, so I can't cut them in half. But 33 sure does divide 3. I'm curious if 51 does. 33 divided by 3 is 11, and it's negative. So how about 51? 3 goes into 5 one time. This is 3, subtract 2. 3 goes into 21 7 times, exactly. All right. Divide the bottom by 3 as well, and you get 17. So we successfully reduced that fraction. Negative 33 over 51. Divide the top and bottom by 3, you get negative 11/17. So go ahead and pause the video. Try letter E on your own. I'll write it so you can see it better if you don't have your notes. All right. Pause it, try it on your own. All right, you're back. Let's see if you're correct. First move, I think the easiest thing to do is just to multiply everybody by 10. So you're distributing 10 to all parts, meaning this becomes 54 when you take it times 10. This becomes minus 12e when you multiply it by 10. This becomes 16e when you multiply it by 10. And this becomes minus 12 if you multiply it by 10. Those two together were the multiplicative property of equality, multiplying both sides by 10, okay? As well as the distributive property, because you worked it through grouping symbols. Okay. Now you should have, well, you didn't have to do it exactly like this, but you can subtract the 16e from the left and from the right just to get the e's on the left. So that's 0 minus 12. That's just going to be minus 12. Don't forget to document that that was subtraction property of equality. 54 drops down. A negative 12e minus 16e. Same sign, add. So you get 28. And if it's a minus out here, it's got to be minus there. So it's minus 28e. Now it kind of looks like what we had before. I guess I can just subtract the 54 from both sides. That'll get the e by itself on the left. Subtraction property of equality. So 0 minus 28e equals same sign, add the two. So 2 plus 4 is 6, 1 plus 5 is 6. And just like we said over here, the two negatives added together create a negative at the end. All right, now we're going to divide by negative 28 because that creates a 1e out front. Division property of equality. And now I recognize two things to start out with. They're both even, so I'm going to divide the top and bottom by 2. So if you cut 66 in half, you get 33. If you cut 28 in half, you get 14. A negative divided by a negative creates a positive fraction. And, you know, this one on the bottom doesn't divide 3 or 5. You can be pretty certain that it's reduced now. So my final answer is E equals either that fraction or ask yourself, how many times does 14 go into 33? 14, double that, 28, okay? So it goes in there 2 times, and then between 28 and 33, the leftover is 5. So nice work if you got 2 and 5/14 for that answer. All right, last one, kind of challenging. Be sure to get rid of parentheses first. Now it's not 12f times 8.6f plus 2.5. There's a big old subtraction symbol here, which means you take that negative 1 and multiply it by 8.6f and by 2.5. So that gives you minus 8.6f minus, because it's a negative times a positive, 2.5. Drop down the 12f. Come on on now. I'm pushing the right buttons. Sorry about that. 12F brought down plus 4.3. Everything else on the right-hand side stays as is. I'm going to multiply both sides by 10 right now so that the decimals no longer are decimals. So I can multiply this side by 10, creating 120F minus 86F minus 25 plus 43 equals 12F minus 42. All right, again, I use the multiplicative property of equality as well as the distributive property to make that happen. No more decimals. Now I'm going to simplify the left. Now usually I'd have to use the commutative property to get the f's together and the constants together, but they're already together. So 120F minus 86. Okay. You can stack those if you can't really do it in your head. I mean, here's a shortcut. I think most people can do 120 minus 80 in their head. What's 120 minus 80? 40. Okay? Now take 6 more away. It's 34. Now, if you can't do that in your head, just say to yourself, I need 10 from the 0, so I need to borrow here, which means I need to borrow there. So it's 10 minus 6 is 4, 11 minus 8 is 3, 34F. Over here, remember it's negative 25, well, negative 25 plus 43, opposites subtract. All right, and you take the sign of the bigger one, which is 43. So it's going to be plus. 13 minus 5 is 8. You got to borrow from here, so it's 18. This is the substitution property where you just work on one side of the equation. Alrighty, now it looks exactly like our first example on the 2.3 notes. I'm going to move the f's to the left using subtraction property of equality. So that's gone now. 22F plus 18 equals 0 minus 42. And then I'm going to subtract the 18 from both sides to get the constants on the opposite. So that gives me 22F equals same sign, add them. 2 plus 8 is 10. Carry the 1, 5, 6. Same sign, add the 2, keep it negative. All right, then you divide by 22. Division property of equality. And then they're both even, so I can cut the top and bottom in half. So maybe I'll do that up in the right-hand corner here. $60 divided by 2 is negative 30. 22 divided by 2 is positive 11. 11's a prime number, and it doesn't go into 30, so you can just say, all right, 11, 22, so it's 2 whole with 8 left over, and it's negative. So that's our final answer. F equals negative 2 and 8/11. All right, guys. Hey, thanks for watching. The proof properties are very burdensome to start out with. But once you get the idea of how you show your calculations in a proof-like state, I'm not going to ask you guys to do those anymore. And in fact, I think I'm going to show you guys in the next lesson a simpler, maybe not a simpler, but a more, like a quicker way of getting through these equations, okay? So, yeah, do your best and ask questions when you have them, okay? See ya.